Why should the man pay the bill? Don't take dating advice from Reddit. There's no reason anymore. It's just social convention. Ethically, we do not. Practically, because the other men pursuing her would. There's no rule you don't need to. Some women like the traditional aspect of it. Some women will pay so that they don't feel obligated towards anything else. As a gay man, the man always ends up paying the bill on my dates. Because I only date broke bitches. Stop going out to dinner on a first date and this ceases to be an issue. Realistically. Because if you're on a date, your date is much more likely to go well if you abide by this old patriarchal standard. It's not fair or right. But people do it because there are enough women who expect it that not doing it is taking a risk. Unless you already know the woman you're dating doesn't share those values. If you don't even ask me if you want to split the check on a first date, I probably won't ever call you back for a second. I'm the dude. I'm too old for this shit. When I was single, my rule was if I ax a lady out on a date I paid for it. If I was ax out she paid. My wife pursued me and axed me out on our first date. She paid. After that it depended on who axed who to dinner. Now I pay for everything. Because a lot of women appreciate the gesture. Most of us need all the help we can get attracting women. If paying the bill on the first date helps, then so be it. Plus I was taught that you pay the bill when you ask someone to be your guest for lunch, dinner, a show or whatever. It's just good manners. Men pursue women generally. So if I don't pay she might think she could find a guy that will pay. She might like that more and thus I'm shit out of luck. So in a way we are bidding for a woman's attention. It's kinda just the way it is unfortunately. If we are talking for dating it's just a social norm. I follow it but not everyone does these days. If we are talking relationships then I usually split things unless there is a significant income disparity, which has happened at times and I'm not going to make someone making half of what I make pay the same amount I am. I feel like this question is posted at least a few times every day and it always gets up votes and the same answers. No one is making you pay the bill. If you are this much against paying the bill and the girl you are going out with expects you to do so, you two are just not meant for each other. That's it. Stop being salty about it and move on. Because women only believe in equality when it suits them. Because when she tells her friends about the date and says she had to pay, her friends will shit on you. Hold over from when women didn't usually have an income. I don't think men should pay the bill as a rule. I'm still happy to do it though. It's one of those things that has about a 95% chance of going over well with a girl and giving a positive impression. There's not really much reason beyond that, it's just seen as a social norm. Not every woman will expect it, but a very, very large amount of women will view it positively. He shouldn't. It's a traditional standard when women weren't really in the workforce. And if we know women, they hate old-timey traditions. Oh, except for the ones where they don't have to pay. Rule of thumb. Ladies, if you expect a man to pay for your meal, you need to make sure the cost of your meal does not exceed his. Speaking as a gay guy, these kinds of threads make heterosexuality seem so unappealing. Lol. It's a nice chance of pace. Well, someone's got to. And it can be a nice gesture. I always offer to pay when I eat out with my dad, too. But to date he's never let me and has occasionally threatened me for trying. Traditionally. Because men earned more than women. Of course. That tradition sat alongside other traditions. Like asking her father for permission to date, picking her up from the family home, having them back by 10 p.m. or whatever else. Wherever you sit on all such things. Remember the power implicit in paying. not paying. What you think is right or wrong may not be universally agreed. There is no single, immutable process here. For me, it's about not being an ass, but also not being a doormat. It's a balance that you need to explore and find within yourself. Best of luck. I certainly am no expert at it. I've always gone by the simple logic that the person that does the asking should do the paying. They shouldn't, or rather it should be, depending on who asks who and what is discussed before. Whoever is uglier pays. I pay for what I order. If that turns you off, thanks for filtering yourself out and showing me an early red flag. My time is just as valuable as yours. Early dating should be cheap and about feeling each other out for chemistry and attraction. Later on, if the potential is there, I can and will treat up front. It's toxic femininity. They shouldn't. I disqualified myself with a kabillion women by specifying that we split the bill. But enough women had no problem with it that I at least got dates and LTRs. Paying for her meal is dead, nah really. SRSLY. If it died with a guy like me, then it is really, truly dead. If you're a passport bro overseas, of course. In the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, or China, then no. That mentality is so 1930s face with rolling eyes. Back in the time, it was the majority of the men that had income and is now a thing of the past, so we should treat each other equally. Unless you've chosen some ridiculously expensive place to eat. Go Dutch. Any woman expecting you to pay before you're exclusive isn't worth the price of the meal. I do it because my mom would absolutely cave my head in if she saw someone I was with pull out money to pay for me. Because women don't want true equality, only the parts that benefit them. Because eggs are expensive, and sperm is cheap. I don't think the man should automatically pay. Women have jobs and are our equals. So the whole provider expectation is a relic from the past. It's a turnoff to me if the girl works and just expects me to cover everything. With my partner we each pay, usually alternating on our weekly date nights. But if we buy food at other times, it can be random on who pays. I like it. They shouldn't. First dates should always be split or done in rounds like drinks. I wouldn't mind paying more, but a good first date doesn't really mean a second date anymore. In my case, 'cause I owned practically everything we have use before I even met my wife. She contributes with new expenses we have together. Primarily childcare and groceries for all of us. It helps a lot considering Montessori daycare costs as much as a small mortgage. Pay the bill was a traditional gender role that doesn't apply nowadays. Today we have strong independent women with their own salaries that argue with you to pay the bill. Let them be. I speak for myself, but I'm sure other women agree. It's a date if he pays. It's hanging out with a friend if we split it. These comments are interesting. Because women should not work and have access to income. If you disagree with that statement, you also disagree that it's the men's responsibility to pay. Here's how I play it. I'll offer to pay the full bill. And if she lets me, then I generally don't go on a second date with her. But if she wants to pitch in or pays for something else afterwards, say we go for coffee or ice cream or a movie or whatever, then that is a guaranteed way of getting me interested in a second date. I'm finally to the point that I have no problem paying. But if I see her pick up her phone once, I will walk out mid-meal and never look back. He shouldn't. She's strong, independent. He shouldn't. But women are only strong and independent when it suits them and they love double standard that benefit them.